As I said a moment ago, the question was, suppose your favorite candidate loses a close election. However, people in the campaign know they can win by cheating without being caught. Would you rather have your candidate win by cheating or lose by playing fair? Again, only 7% of Americans said win by cheating. But then he put the question to what he called the elite 1%. And the reason this is important is these are the people that are in charge of things, running things. The elite 1% make over $150K per year, have a postgraduate degree, not just college degree, have a postgraduate degree, live in densely populated areas, and this group gives President Joe Biden an 82% approval rating. Now, about this group, Rasmussen said this, quote, a heavy concentration of them went to one of 12 elite schools. Half the policy positions in government, half the corporate board positions in America are held by people who went to one of these dozen schools, end of quote. Harvard, Yale, Columbia, Stanford, all the rest of the Ivies. Of this group, the elite 1%, those who make over $150K per year, those who have a postgraduate degree, those who live in densely populated areas, and again, this group gives Joe Biden an 82% approval rating. Of this group, when asked, would you rather have your candidate win by cheating or lose fairly? 35% said they would rather their candidate win by cheating than lose by playing fair. Think about that. This is 5 times higher than the percentage of average Americans, but the elite 1%, far more likely than the average American to be perfectly okay with winning by cheating. Now, it gets even worse. He put the question to a subset of this 1%. People that he called politically obsessed, as defined by those who talk about politics every day. And guess what? Among this group, the so-called politically obsessed, those who talk about politics every day, the number who would rather win by cheating than lose fairly, jumps to 69%. And Rasmussen, in an interview, said he was shocked by this. He'd never seen anything like it. Again, these are the people that are in charge of our news, in charge of social media platforms, academia. He also drilled even deeper. Most Americans, according to polls, believe we do not have enough individual freedom. However, among the elite, and these are not just the politically obsessed elite, these are just the regular elite 1%. 70% of them say there's, quote, too much individual freedom in America. Most Americans don't believe we have enough freedom. 70% of this elite 1% believe Americans have, quote, too much freedom. Also, Rasmussen said it's been 50 years since a majority of Americans say they trust the government to do the right thing most of the time. Most Americans don't believe the government will do the right thing most of the time. However, you know where I'm going with this. Among this elite 1%, 70% trust the government to do the right thing most of the time. Now, my analysis of this, you know why? They are the government. They are the ones in charge. Or they can pick up the phone and talk to somebody who is in charge and have the outcome influence in their behavior, on their behalf. This is scary. Now, this brings us to National Public Radio. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, where that guy, Yuri Berliner, was suspended because he dared write a piece where he said, we're pretty left-wing out here. Wasn't always that case when I got here 25 years ago, but we've gone down that road. We've chased away moderate listeners. Our listeners are more likely to be white, extremely progressive. And we need to rethink this. And he gave an example. And the example was the Russiagate stuff. And said over here at NPR, we were obsessed by it. Had Adam Schiff on, by my count, he said 25 times. And then when the Mueller report came down, no collusion, no obstruction, we just stopped talking about it. We never apologized. We never did any internal reflection. No mea culpa. We just quietly dropped it and went on. He got suspended for writing that. And a few days after his suspension, he quit. He said, I can't work in a newsroom that's completely intolerant of different views. And by the way, this is not a defund the NPR guy. I am. There's no reason why anybody should be spending a dime, I don't care what your politics are, on national public radio, national public television. Why? At one time, there was, 5, 6, 7 channels? Now, just on cable, there's over 500 channels. Plus internet access to any time you want and any kind of news you want. So what is the rationale behind taxpayers paying for NPR, particularly when it is this left wing? Makes absolutely no sense.
For the full episode of The Dennis Prager Show, go to pragertopia.com, sign up, and become a full member.